I was listening to, and I forget which channel this is now, but the B First, B1, Black Truth Professor, Black Truth HQ, whatever you want to call it. Um, we all know the YouTuber I'm talking about. And I was watching a video, and he was talking about the New Jersey or Jersey City shootout with the police. And originally, I was going to make a video because I'm Mr. Pro Second Amendment and whatnot. And I was going to make a video about the Second Amendment. But after listening to his video, not that I disagreed with the majority of the video, I actually agreed with the majority of the video, but there's one area of the video that I would like to critique, or I'm going to critique. And that is the area where, yes, I agree that the mainstream media is trying to paint all black empowerment movements with a broad brush by affiliating this guy who had a shootout and shot up the Hasidic Jewish market and killed, I believe, three people at the market, and then the officer who died. I could be wrong. It's between 3 and 4 people. Okay. But Black Truth Professor, made an excellent point about how the media is trying to basically smear all black empowerment movement as, the black identity extremist. They tried to link him to, what is it called? Not Nation of Islam, the Black Hebrew Israelites, right? And this is just what I want to say about these sort of events, because especially we rarely see these events coming from black people. And what I notice is that when black people don't have an agenda, like when the shooter doesn't have an agenda, they'll say he does have an agenda. And when the shooter doesn't have an agenda, does have an agenda, they'll dismiss the agenda, right? Did you get me on that? Okay, so if a black shooter has an agenda and says, I shot the place up or I did this crazy act because of X, Y, and Z, the media is quick to dismiss what is actually being said or the purpose behind why the person is doing whatever they're doing, right? They're quick to label the person crazy. However, then when you get a crazy person that doesn't really have an agenda or goal, they're kind of, piggyback riding or grabbing the coattails of something that they learned literally 5 minutes ago. The media will jump up and say that, this person represents that organization. You ever notice that? Right? It's like when I listened to the Baton Rouge shooter. I remember when the Baton Rouge shooter went and shot them cops down in Baton Rouge after Alton Sterling got killed. I forget what his name was. But I watched his YouTube video. And his YouTube video might still be up, or people copied and pasted it or whatever. And he didn't sound crazy to me. He sounded like he was mad. One of the things that, the right likes to ignore all the time, and I talk about this on my gun channel, because they're all, America first, America this, America that, Colin Kaepernick, you need to stand. He's disrespecting our troops. And they always love to ignore the fact that Micah Johnson served in the military. The Baton Rouge shooter served in the military. I forget his name. And even that, remember that black cop out in L.A. that went and had the manifesto and the list of the cops that he wanted to take out or whatever. And they basically killed him in a log cabin, right? He was like a national, like the reserve or something like that. He's got a couple pictures of him basically doing army stuff, like military stuff. I'm like, yeah. No, notice all these guys are serving in the military, and it seems like they try to downplay that, right? I believe he was trying to expose the LAPD and talk about, their police brutality that still went on. I mean, if you go and you look at the Wikipedia page, they talk about how he was in the court and basically it's almost like, it reminded me of like Demolition Man or Minority Report or what's that movie, Running Man, where the person's a cop and then they basically are this by the book type of cop, and then they get themselves caught up or try to expose somebody or someone or the institution or organization, and the institution or organization throws them underneath the bus, and they spend the rest of the movie trying to exonerate themselves, right? But that's not how it goes down in real life. Like, it's, the person that gets thrown under the bus doesn't usually get to exonerate themselves. They usually end up dead, or in the case of, the guy out in LA, they end up going on a rampage and trying to kill as many people as possible before they get killed. But what I want to say to the Black Truth Professor and other black people who kind of, I don't want to say jump the gun, but it's just something to consider. Okay. Every time a black person does something crazy doesn't mean that they're a revolutionary. It's just the same as every time a white person does something crazy, it doesn't mean that they're a white supremacist. When it comes to crazy people latch on to anything that gives them purpose. And I don't think, like, in other words, I feel like the outcome is the same as what Black Truth Professor was speaking against when he was speaking about how the media is trying to take this guy and tie him to black Israelites, tie him to, black empowerment, and throw him in this bin, including everything from ADOS to, freaking, Mr. Holopsism shit, I mean, just everything, hoteps, everything, anything that's pro-black that's what black people really want to do, right? Which is bullshit. We all know that's bullshit. But by the same token, I notice a lot of times that whether black people actually know whether this person had an agenda or not, or just latched onto something at the last minute, black people are quick to try to make heroes out of these people and try to claim them that they're revolutionaries. Revolutionaries more than being heroes. But they want to say, oh, he died for the cause. He went out there and fought for the... Well, if you're doing that, isn't that the same as what the media is trying to do? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's like every white person that does some crazy shit and goes and shoots the place up is not a white supremacist. Some of them are just crazy. Some of them are vengeful. They want to, they hate whatever it is that they hate. Right? And I think that we can say that, and everybody's like, yeah, that makes sense. Right? But when we get over to black people who go off and do some crazy shit, they're never crazy. It's like a black crazy person doesn't exist. We can have crazy white people, but we can't have crazy black people. Right? Or you get the black people who always want to make a crazy white person a white supremacist. And then when it comes to a crazy black person, they want to make the crazy black person a revolutionary. I'm like, what if he was just crazy? Y'all really gonna tell me like crazy niggas don't exist? People that just will attach themselves to anything. You know what I mean? You could have somebody go out here and go on a rampage. Let's say it's a black person, go on a rampage, kill a bunch of people, right? And then like 2 weeks prior, he's basically, posting and co-signing a whole bunch of stuff from Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam, right? Nation of Islam's like, we don't know that nigga. Like, who the fuck is he? But because of Facebook post or something like that, all of a sudden, then it's going to be, now everybody's got they eyes on Farrakhan, saying that Farrakhan incited this level of hatred or this level of violence, right? I mean, as was stated in the video, like black Israelites, they talk a lot of shit, You know what I mean? But have y'all heard of black Israelites harming anybody, doing anything? I mean, they out there on the block in their Power Ranger suits, yelling and shit. You know, they got their issues with black women. They got their issues with any black person that's an assimilationist. You know, they got their issues with anybody who doesn't subscribe to, their interpretation of the Bible, right? You know, they running around on the microphone. Nah, you's an Edomite. You know what I mean? They be going off and categorizing people based on, these biblical. I haven't heard of any of them going out there and actually physically harming anybody. So when I saw the connection the media was trying to make, I was like, black Israelites? I was like, they talk a lot of shit, but to actually go out there and I'm like, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen it. And like I said, when I went over there and looked the extremists, they got like the Southern Poverty Law Center has this extremist list that it makes. Every state in the country has they tell you where the extremists are and what the chapters are and all that. And they had black groups on there. Black groups on there that I'm like, they not out here harming anybody. You know what I mean? Like Ray Ray and Pookie is a bigger threat to people inside and outside the black community than any of these organizations that call out the system of white supremacy. Right. Because that's the idea that it's this is the threat. We don't care if you go out there and you talk a bunch of shit, but as soon as you start, organizing to go and harm somebody, that's when it's a problem, right? Which is understandable, right? It's understandable. It's one thing, free speech is one thing, letting people go out here and say the shit they want to say. It's a whole nother thing when they start talking about, we're really going to go out here and commit acts of violence. That's a different thing. Not in self-defense, just, senseless violence, senseless acts of violence. All I'm saying for this video, because I want to keep it brief and I want to keep it short, is you can't in one breath say that the media is trying to put these people or put, the shooter or whatever, put these crazed black people, which I don't know if they are or they aren't, but sometimes they are just crazed black people. You can't say that they're trying to, put these people in this broad, use them as the paint to broad stroke all the rest of black people and affiliate them with something that you're saying that they're not affiliated with, only to turn around and then act like all these individuals are revolutionaries who are self-sacrificing and died in the name of whatever it is they died in the name of. They died in the name of, black identity extremism or something like that, which doesn't even exist. It's a goddamn made up term, which is nothing more than COINTELPRO 2.0. That's all it is. Monitor the blacks. We want to make sure we keep these niggas in check type of shit. Right? But I'm just saying, both of those things they ultimately have the same outcome. The media doing its thing, saying, oh, we're going to say that this person was associated with all this over here, even though they weren't. We're going to make connections. And then the black people who want to stand there and they want to say that, this brother was a revolutionary because he went out there and, did what he did or whatever. Which, first off, you got to be extremely careful of co-signing shit like that. You got to be extremely careful of co-signing shit like that. I understand that there's certain things like, when it came to, Micah Johnson, he had, a history. If you go and you look at, some of his run-ins in the military, like it appears, that, or it could be argued that they're trying to make it look like, he was crazed, but again, that Philando Castile shooting, that even had an effect on me. You got the burning anger that builds up, I mean, when I saw him get shot, like I saw myself. I was like, damn, here you got the brother, like, he's trying to get the permit. Granted, I don't think he should have been moving around, but that shit affected me. Sometimes I wonder, I don't know why these cops do the type of shit that they do, because I'm like, you know, you do live in an armed country, and you got something like 40 million black people. Out of that 40 million black people, yeah, eventually some people are going to get sick and tired of being sick and tired if they keep seeing young black men get gunned down like that. Ain't no telling what somebody's going to do, but that just seems to go over their head, right? Then you got to deal with the irritation of the hypocrisy of the white people who go out here and they want to scream at Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee, but you see what they're doing in Virginia right now. And it's about to turn into a civil war in Virginia because those same cops in blue, are the left thinks that those cops are going to go and disarm, the public. And I heard one white guy call it right. He said the cops in the cities, they work for the liberals. The cops in the rural areas, they for the people. And I was like, that's pretty damn accurate. Because you go up to New York and shit like, oh yeah, them cops, in New York, they serve their overlords. They serve the masters with the money. They're not going to be defending New Yorkers' Second Amendment rights. But if you go into the middle part of the country where things are more rural, or even within a state, just like Virginia, you go to Norfolk, those cops are going to be, is that an assault weapon? But you go out to the western part of Virginia, closer to, what would that be? Tennessee, Kentucky? I don't know my states like that. But, closer to these more interior states, in the Appalachian Mountains and whatnot. And those cops ain't about to violate people's Second Amendment rights. They're not going to enforce it, which is why you have all these people coming up with the sanctuary states. Right. But it's just funny. Like, white people's hypocrisy is funny as hell to me. It's irritating, but it's funny as hell to me. Because I love just exposing them. I'm like, but didn't you just say, weren't you the one talking about blue lives matter? But now all of a sudden, because they're about to come and take your guns, you ready to blow a cop away. I'm like, isn't this interesting? Isn't this interesting? You about to go out there with acts of violence, right? But Colin Kaepernick taking a knee is a problem, right? And then when black people go out there and commit acts of violence, now all of a sudden, you caping for the police again. You know what I'm saying? Like, now you out there defending law, and now it's our police officers. I'm like, ain't this some funny shit, right? Again, we all know what that's about. They white people stay on code. You see, maintaining the system of white supremacy. See, black people, we don't stay on code very much, right? And some people would argue that, the whole defending of the police officers is essentially, what was I saying? Why did I say defending the police officers? Damn, what was the point I was going to make? Anyway, white people defending police officers is them staying on code, right? And the idea, remember, that wasn't what I was going to say. It wasn't white police officers. It was black people defending, like this guy in New Jersey who shot the Hasidic Jewish place up, which I don't even know if it would be called, defending. But again, making the guy out to be a revolutionary, that's not helpful. That's basically supporting what the media is trying to do, right? I never understand these people who go after soft targets, by the way. I never understand that shit. It's like you get the white supremacists that, we hate niggers and we hate the blacks and these thugs. They always talk about these thugs and everything, right? But you'll never see the white supremacists and all their red pickup truckness and Confederate flags. They don't never drive into the heart of the ghetto, to confront Pookie. They never go in there to drive into the heart of the ghetto and confront the drug dealers and whatnot. That is the reason why little Susie died of an overdose. They don't confront them, right? Even though I could argue that it's not even really about the drug dealers per se. If you want to end the drug, end the war on drugs and create economic opportunities in the city, I could get rid of a whole bunch of drug dealers selling little Susie opioids and whatnot. But white folks don't want to do that because they're not going to lift black people up out of poverty and call it equality. Like, no, 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 no. Right? We gotta teach those niggas to stay in their place and accept their lot in life and stay down in there in the ghetto and just live a life of poverty and lack. Right? But I'm just saying, like, I don't understand the whole soft target thing. People going into churches, going into schools, and then just like, okay, well, what are you mad about, right? And then like all their targets have nothing to do with that. It's like Dylan Roof running around, it's because the black men rape our women. That was one of his reasons. Black men rape our women. That's what he said, right? But this nigga decides to go up in a freaking church full of nothing but a bunch of old black people, right? Too old to be fucking, right? And majority black women. That's who Dylan Roof shot up. He didn't go and go to a halfway house. He didn't go and go to the deepest, darkest depths of the inner city or any ghetto. No, 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 no. No. He went into a damn church with some old black people. Right? I think the only black man he killed was the damn pastor or something like that. Right? But I'm just saying, like, these people that, like, I don't understand the whole, going and shooting up the Hasidic Jewish place or whatever, right? And I know that there's some black people who have issues with the history and the legacy of the Jews and their interactions and dealing with the black community. But you got to remember, there were some Jewish people that died, with the freedom fighters. They died, trying to help out black people, driving down there to Mississippi and everything else like that. You had that white girl, I forget what her name is. She got killed. And there was another white dude, he got killed. So, I'm not going to don the capes too hard, but I'm just saying, there was a different time when the black and Jewish relationship was maybe slightly different. Now, I'm not a historian, but slightly different. It's almost like, the same situation where, being a black American and getting caught up in the Muslim world, like people seem to forget 1979, they sent the black people home. Ayatollah Khomeini sent the black people home. He was like, hey, we seen y'all get fucked up on TV and all that shit. We saw it. We again, they sat there and they watched black people's, what did Malcolm X say? Or not Malcolm X say, that was Stokely Carmichael. The revolution, what did he say, will not be televised or something like that, right? Listen to me getting my pro-black quotes all fucked up. But y'all get my point, right? I'm saying they saw it. They saw black people getting hosed down and the dogs and all that, and white people fucking with them. And then you got the whole, like the geopolitical politics and shit like that. The whole, what do you call that? The U.S. foreign policy fucking with these, nations and trying to get resources or strategic bases and, deal with their politics, whatever it is, corrupting their politics. Same shit that the U.S. is accusing Russia of right now. U.S. been doing that around the globe. You know what I mean? So 1979, when the black people got caught up, they was like, Marquise, Latrell, Keisha, you can go home. Steven, sit your white ass down. Like it was like, Steven, sit your ass. The only black person that didn't get to go home was a black dude who thought he was white. He was one of those. So his ass didn't go home. But today, they probably would behead a black person. Because black people running around, being American, serving the military and blah, blah, blah. And again, they see their people getting bombed by the white man and you fighting on the white man's army. And so, they may look at it a little bit differently. But then some would argue that the Arab, the Muslim, has never been a friend of the black person, or black people. Again, it just depends on the times and the situations and the circumstances. All I'm saying is, if I can point to instances where Jewish people did some fucked up shit to black people, I can also point to some instances where Jewish people did some things that supported and benefited black people. I didn't forget about the Depo-Provera that the Israeli government was giving the Ethiopian Jews that they brought there. Like, why bring a group of people there? Operation Project Moses. You bring the Ethiopian Jews there because they're also Jewish, right? Probably the lost tribe of Judea. Who knows, right? You bring them there and then you give them birth control to keep their population down, right? I mean, isn't that not the same thing that the Nazis were trying to do with the Jews and sterilize them? But here you got Jews in Israel that were sterilizing the Ethiopian Jews, right? And then they tried to cover it up, and a lot of black people fell for the okie doke because a month later, what happened? Oh, look, a black Miss Israel. Oh yeah, go ahead, look at the months on the shit. Look at when they got caught with the Depo-Provera, and then like a month later they came out. Oh, and we crowned a black Miss Israel, right? And even she was all soft shoe when it came to addressing racism. You can go and you can find the articles, because I found one the other day, where she was like, yes, Israel has its racial problems, but, it's getting better. I'm like you gonna say anything else, bitch? Like, fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? You're a goddamn plant. You know what I'm saying? Use her to pacify the masses of black people and distract black people with the idea of validating black women's beauty or Ethiopian women's beauty in Israel. Like, oh man, So, there's reasons why, that the hip hop and how you have Jewish executives controlling the hip hop. People will argue with the banking system. People will argue with even the control of the media and black people's negative depiction in the media. When you look at a lot of these top executives in the media, a lot of them are Jewish. All the CNN executives and stuff like that, Jewish, right? So, it's not like I don't understand where some of the anger comes from. They got the Jewish people running around screaming anti-Semitism and whatnot. But I'm like, y'all ain't no perfect angels. Y'all be out here doing fucked up shit. I get tired of Jewish people that try to act like they don't do any fucked up. Oh, we're just victims. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And honestly, most of the anti-Semitism, that shit comes from white folks. That shit don't come from black folks. I don't know too many black people who run around with anti-Semitism. Black people kind of like, it's reactionary. It's like, if we catch you fucking with us, then that's when the Jews get called out. But as a rule, I don't see too many black people calling out Jews for shit. And on top of the fact that I think that sometimes when it is Jewish people, there's a lot of black people who will say that the Jews have been able to go underneath the radar on a lot of stuff because, unless they're Hasidic Jew, I mean, that's probably why the guy went to this kosher grocery store. You know what I mean? Because they're easily identifiable Jewish people, as opposed to the other Jewish people, which are the Jewish people who, just they walk around and they wear regular clothes, and sometimes you can tell that they're Jewish. Usually the nose, right? Other times you can't, right? But I'm just saying, Jews have definitely been able to more easily, through those people who don't look stereotypically Jewish, infiltrate white circles much better than black people. And a black man can't hide his background in order to, gain access to the levers of power, unlike a Jewish person can, right? Which is why some anti-Semitists, jump up and they have all their Zionist conspiracy theories about the, anti-Zionists, I think that's what you call it, conspiracy theories about the zoos, right? About the zoos, the Jews, right? That book, what was that book called? That anti-Semitic, the Elders of Zion. That's a big one, and that's like right up there with Mein Kampf, right? The elders of Zion. But no, I just wanted to make this video. I'm gone 30 minutes. I didn't even expect to do that. I'm just saying I just wanted to make this video because I think black people need to be cautious of doing that. Of cautious of you're calling out white supremacy, and the way that they're trying to use this mass shooter to paint the broad brush, or these mass shooters, because there's a woman involved too. He had her on some Bonnie and Clyde shit. I mean, talk about the gift of the gab. I mean, goddamn, like, well, I mean, what type of golden tongue did this dude have in order to get this woman to, get herself involved in some shit like that, right? But yeah, I think that, calling out the media and painting the broad brush, I agree with that, but turning these people into revolutionaries when they just might be crazy and literally just grabbed onto something at the very last minute, I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, I think people need to wait for the information to come out, really do their research, really look into who this person is, and not just look at the, what the headlines are and whatnot, because the headlines most certainly are misleading, which is why, I've taken a while to comment on this issue. And again, I'm prematurely commenting on this issue because I don't currently have all the information. I'm just saying that, I've been noticing this trend of, when black people do something crazy, we're revolutionaries. Not like we don't have any crazy niggas in the black community. Y'all know crazy niggas. Y'all got crazy niggas in your family. You know what I'm saying? Don't leave him with the children. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got crazy people in your family. Right? They latch on to anything. You give them anything, any controversial issue, they'll latch on to that shit. Why'd you kill all those people? Because Coca-Cola is causing a hole in the ozone layer. It's like, whoa, like, how the fuck did you put those two things together? So again, people want to be able to blame something or somebody, and I feel like these, groups that whatever side wants to label as the enemy, that's what they want to do. But sometimes these people are just crazy. Just straight up batshit crazy, and they'll latch on to anything they look up to, whatever it may be. They'll latch on to it, and then they'll be like, yeah, that's why I did it. Like I said, Nation of Islam over there, like, nigga, we don't know you. Black Hebrew Israelites, like, nigga, we don't know you. Who the fuck is you? You know what I'm saying? When did you become a member? And they didn't become a member. They'll just argue that they, we share the same views or whatever. And again, one is willing to act on violence. The other one is like, no, we over here calling it out. Yeah, we huffing and puffing, but we ain't about to go that route. So, seriously, again, like, have y'all ever even seen black Hebrew Israelites with a gun? They think scripture is their ammunition. Them niggas are more about talking than about being about, violence and everything else like that. I haven't seen any black Hebrew Israel. I've seen Hoteps. You know what I'm saying? I've seen Black Panthers armed. I haven't seen any black Hebrew Israelites armed. Now, maybe somebody can correct me, but I haven't seen any. Hell, the majority of them are probably barred from owning a firearm because the majority of them probably converted to being black Hebrew Israelites when they were locked up in prison on some narcotics charge. And then they get out and, again, barred from access to a firearm. So, I'm just saying that right there, that right there demonstrates their inability to be able to do these sorts of things. And even the brother that did the shooting, convicted felon. Right. And this is where I get on the whole gun control thing. Like, yeah, New Jersey, how's that gun control working out for you? You can't legislate away evil. You can't stop people from doing these sort of things. And I don't think that disarming the public with, 330 million guns in America and 100 million guns floating around that are illegal, right? The criminals ain't gonna comply with shit. That's not what a criminal does, you know. So I mean, it's like saying, the best way that we're going to stop terrorist attacks is by removing all the metal detectors from an airport, because we've created laws to say that terrorist attacks are illegal, right? And it's like by the time you catch the person, they done already done all the damage. They done already blown up the plane and shouted Allahu Akbar. I don't know. It's liberal logic. I don't understand. I don't understand liberal logic. I just don't. It just don't. The shit don't make no sense. It's like, what are you doing? But again, I think the ultimate goal is to disarm the populace, then bring in New World Order, and create that sort of situation. They do not want. I mean, it's already bad enough. America's, this free thinking society, and that's why you see YouTube wanting to restrict, all these third party voices and whatnot. That's why AM Joy or Joy Reid had to address the ADOS movement and then try to conflate it with all the other Black and Power movements, all the movements that basically say, don't go out here and vote for the Democrats unless they're offering tangibles. We want to see tangibles. What have you done for me lately? That's what Black people are saying. What have you done for me lately? Right? And Democrats can't answer that. So that they want to just keep running their gums, running their lips. Oh, well, see, you shouldn't be asking for anything. And da 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 da. And what about Black and brown folk and the LGBT and the Syrian refugees and the Mexicans coming across the border and blah blah blah. Hey, what have you done for me lately? Like it's just that simple. Like fuck all that. It's just that simple. What have you done for me lately? Eddie, I want what's coming to me, you know? So they don't want to answer that question. Well, I guess you don't have my vote. So, I mean, all this is all the stuff that's in my head, but I just wanted to say that and share that because I do think it's dangerous for us to, every time a Black person does something crazy, unless we have all the facts, unless we got people to notice, this person and like, oh man, I got all the details on it. Oh, he been on this for years and he went to such and such event and da 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 da. Unless y'all can do that and pinpoint, I don't think you should be up there saying that this guy's a revolutionary or even remotely putting him in that category. He might just have been batshit crazy. So anyway, because it's like, let me say this real quick. It's almost like the conversation I had with Cap about dealing with these women who like to redefine patriarchy for men. You don't let women do that. All these hardcore feminists that come out and they try to say that that they point to some toxic masculinity and then say that patriarchy is toxic masculinity. You see how you went from 0 to 100 real quick, right? And so what has to be acknowledged, what you have to do is you have to stop the women from defining patriarchy for you. You say, no, that's not patriarchy. That's rogue males running around. Now, direct me to where this rogue male is that was running around raping and pillaging so that we can deal with him, right? Because that's how you maintain patriarchy. The women have to have faith that you will keep them protected from rape. You can't just sit there and talk about, how you have all this glorious protection to offer women, but then when they identify that a rogue male did some foul shit, you don't go over there and check the motherfucker. Right. That's when it's going to turn into patriarchy equals, rape and pillage. That's when it's going to turn into that bullshit. So we got to learn collectively as Black men to stop letting these women define, what is patriarchy, because it's real slick how they do this shit. And so if you don't define it for yourself, then somebody else comes in and they define it for you. And then you find yourself in the position defending something that, you shouldn't be defending. You don't need to defend it because that's not what you're about. That's not what patriarchy is about. Hey, I'm sorry that happened. That's unfortunate. Will you please direct me to where this brother is so that I can check him? Right? That should be the response. But instead, a lot of times what we do is we get into defending the straw man. You see what I'm saying? And so in claiming that this brother was a revolutionary, you end up, when it comes to the media, defending the straw man. At some point, you're going to have to defend the straw man that was created because you made it crazy a revolutionary when he was just crazy. Like I said, I don't know a whole bunch about this dude and all this shit. All I know is he was a felon. You know, he had a couple Facebook posts, and that's it. You know, and I don't know what else more there is to say about that. So, like I said, you see this across the board. You know, it's like sometimes it's just not that deep. You know, white guy goes and shoots up a church and everything else like that, and comes up with a manifesto and all that other stuff. Sometimes just it you know, especially if the shit's not even coherent, it's rambling. You know, I'm like, yeah, okay, this dude was clearly, you know, off his meds. And it's not, you know, oh, he was a part of this organization. They've been plotting this, and he was a part of Adam Waffen and all this other shit. Like, no. You know what I'm saying? But that's what, you know, people want to hear because they want something to blame. If it can't be someone, then it has to be something. And that something is an organization. And they're going to try to tie, you know, some horrific act perpetrated by, you know, a mass shooter or something like that. They're going to try to connect it to an institution or organization, right? Because nobody likes a lone wolf. Lone wolf. People are terrified of lone because it's random. They're terrified of crazies because it's random. See, if you tie it to an organization or an institution, then you can say, well, we just have to eliminate the organization or the institution. This won't happen anymore, right? We just have to, you know, if we can link it to that and then we can dismantle that, then this won't happen anymore. And then it's not so random, and they have this sense of control of the situation. Lone wolf situations, that terrifies people because there's no way that you can actually correct it and rectify it because it's lone wolf. You know, it's just a random act of violence. And again, unless we want to live like China, you know, or any of these other nations where, you know, people are heavily monitored and censored and everything else, then, you know, like I said, I like dangerous freedom, right? More than I like, what's the term that they use? Dangerous freedom versus what is it? Dangerous freedom versus the enslaved safety or something like that. I'm getting all these quotes all messed up. I'm tired. It's late. But anyway, I just wanted to share my thoughts on that. So with that said, that's my video. SWP out.